Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another live coding session. This will be the third coding session for the HDSC internship for 2022 cohorts. And as usual, my name is Angelo Christian. Thank you all for joining. All right, the topic we'll be dealing on today will be data visualizations in Python. This is majorly geared towards the data storytelling track, and others are also welcome to join. Okay, handling today's session, we have Success Ibokwe. She's a junior data scientist at Hami Air Labs. She'll be the one handling today's session. All right, without wasting much of our time, I'll just invite her to come over. Success, the floor is yours. You can begin now.
Thank you, Christian. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So guys, today we'll be talking about data visualization with Python. So I will start from saying, what is data visualization? Data visualization is a field in data analysis that deals with visual representation of data. It's a statistical method that helps us to understand the data better than when it's in a data frame. With pictures, maps, and graphs, the human mind has a better comprehension of the insight. With pictures and graphs, it helps the human mind to have a better comprehension of the insight, the patterns, and the trends in the data set. Data visualization plays a major role in data storytelling, especially with large data sets, where the data storyteller summarizes it into a very readable format for fast decision making by the teammates. It's almost impossible and strenuous to comprehend a big data for the employees of the company, but with a good data storyteller who simplifies the data through technical writing and reporting, data narratives, data visualization, data interpretation, it makes it a lot easier for employees to relate and be data friendly. So that is it for now. So we'll move to the next cell. You see, we talk about data visualization in Python. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Go on.
Okay, so data visualization in Python. Python offers several plotting libraries, which are Matplotlib, Seaborn, and many other visualization packages with different features for creating informative, customized, and appealing, easy to read plots to present data in the most simple and effective way. So plotting data in doing data visualization in Python, you have to first of all import the necessary Python modules and libraries that you'll be needing for your visualization. So the next cell, where my cursor is right now, you will see that I imported necessary libraries for my data visualization. So, and I got a data set from Kaggle. So I had to read it using the bd.read_csv function in pandas to read my data set. So after reading my data set, I think I have to run this. So after importing your libraries, you have to run it to make sure it's successful before we move to reading the data set. Let's just give it a few minutes for it to come up. Okay, it's successful. So reading my data set from Kaggle. So, and after getting my data set from Kaggle, I would just have to see the first 25 rows of my data set so I can have I can understand the data, just mainly look at it and say, okay, how many columns do I have? What features do I have and all? So you can see that we have about 4 columns and about 200 rows. So let's go over to the information of the data set that we just read. So from here, you will see that we have about 200 entries of these data sets. That's 200 rows. Then we have 4 columns. Then if you check the variables inside the data set, you find out that it's actually floats. They're all floats. So that's the data type. They're all floats. So move to the next cell where we talk about matplotlib. Matplotlib package allows you to visualize two-dimensional array plots in Python. To plot data, Matplotlib uses the NumPy array library. With Matplotlib, you can investigate trends, behavioral patterns, and correlation using scatterline, bar, and histogram plots. So the first graph we're going to talk about is scatter plot. Scatter plots, it appears in the form of dots and are used to represent and observe the relationship between variables in scatter plot. To draw scatter plot, the Matplotlib library provides the scatter function. So from here, you can see that we have to first of all the target variable, which is the sales of the data set. So we are trying to, this particular data set has to do with a company who does a company that does different adverts using different medium. They use newspaper, they use radio, they use TV. So we want to consider the sales of each medium. So at this point now, I'm trying to plot a graph. So I'm going to plot a graph using newspaper. So we've got to consider the sales that came out from adverts through newspaper. So first of all, I have to assign my target a variable which is S. Then the other variable, I have to call it Y. So if I plot this graph, you see that I have so if you see, looking at this graph right now, you will see the relationship amongst the variables. You find out that they are not correlated. They're not correlated. And with this graph here, I can comment this out and say, okay, I want to change the color of this data point here. So doing that, I will just run this again. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. Oh. Okay. Oh, sorry. I need to correct something. Yes, sorry about that. So from here you can see that the data points, the color was blue, so it has been changed to red. So that is it for the sales that came in through newspaper. So moving on to the next cell, you can see that I'm also going ahead to name my variable S sales, which is the target variable, because now we're going to name our radio data variable Y. So from this point, we are trying to consider the sales from radio. The sales from radio. So if I run this, I will I will see this. So this from here, looking at this particular graph now, you will see that the relationship between the variables are not still correlated. They are still not correlated. And if I want to still change the color of this very stuff here, just type color, just as we did here, change it from the color to, so just do equals to, just change it to green. If I run this, we find out that the data points color have been changed from the normal color to green. So this is how you play with your graph. Exactly. And you also have to make sure you label your x-axis and your y-axis. So, labeling my x-axis, I made my my x-axis total sales. I also labeled my y-axis radio adverts, just for easy understanding of my data visualization. So we also have to, I also went ahead and checked the sales that came from newspaper. I think we've done this newspaper. So let's move over to TV, sales that came from TV. So when we run this, you find out that you see how correlated we have our data variables from the TV pictures. So you can see how correlated it is, and you can also go ahead and change the color of the data point. Either you can change it from gray to blue. That's how you play around with your visualization to make it very, very colorful and easy to read. So if I change it now, okay, sorry, it has come up. You see that it has actually changed from the normal color to red. So we'll move over to line charts. So line chart is a graph that represents information as a series of data points connected by a straight line. In line chart, each data point is plotted and connected with a line or curve. Using the line charts, you will understand the relationship between X and Y. So at this point now, instead of following the process of making sure I plot the graph of each features one by one, I created a function that can help me run everything. Once I type in the necessary variables, it will just run it automatically. So coming from here now, we see this, I defined a function, which is line underscore plot, bracket open, sy, df, and size. Then when I run this, then what I now do is that all the sales, newspaper data, I just, then from here, the plt.plot dff, the f is your target variable, which is the sales, then dot head size. So we are trying to say that whatever number we put on the size, that's the number of variables we want the plot to plot. For instance, now we have about 200 rows. So we just don't want to plot the 200 rows. I just want us to plot 20 rows. So that is what the size is. So we're trying to pick the first 20 rows of the data set. So when you check the dy, the y is maybe the newspaper or your radio and all. So you also go and say, okay, we want 20 number of rows from the newspaper rows and all. So then if it's so, then you have to return the plt.show, which means you have to show the graph. So from here, let's run this. Okay, we have our line graph. So what I did here was that where there is S, I put my sales using the function I created. So from where there is S, I put my sales. Where I put my sales, I remember the sales is our target variable. So from the Y, where there is Y, I put newspaper. Then the DF represent the data set you're working with. So I put the data, then the size I put 20 because I'm trying to plot about 20 rows of the data set. Then I can even change it to 10, which will change. So it's picking the first 10 rows of that data set. So I can even change it to 50. And we have that. So I can also use that to consider the sales that comes from radio. So the same method I used in the one above, I can also use it here. So using the function where I see S, I put sales, where I see Y, I put radio, then where I see DF, which represent the data set, I put data. That's the name of my data set, the variable name I gave to my data set. So where I put 20, the size, that is, I'm trying to say I want this number of rows to, I want to use the first 20 of my rows to plot a graph. So we have numbers. Same thing, you do that on TV, so you can see that it's almost the same thing I did for scatter plot. So let's move over to bar graph. In bar graphs, you represent your categorical data. A bar chart is generally used to present relative quantities for multiple categories. The S-axis represents the categories and are spaced evenly. The Y-axis represents the quantity for each category and is drawn as a bar from the baseline to the appropriate level on the Y-axis. A bar chart can be created by calling the bar function and passing the categorical names for the S-axis and the quantities for the Y-axis. So what I did above for the line plot, I'm also doing it for the bar plot. So I define the function, which is, I use def bar underscore plot, bracket open S, comma Y, comma df, comma size, which means wherever you see S, you put sales, wherever you see Y, you put newspaper, wherever you see df, it means your data sets and the size. So you're trying to say this size, I already explained the size, and you're trying to say, okay, I want to pick the first 20 rows of my data set. I want to pick the first 50 rows of my data set to plot a graph. So when you say plt.bar bracket open df, when here, this df here represents your data set. I hope you know. So this S here represents your target variable, which is radio dot head. So you're trying to pick, okay, say in size, I want to pick 10, I want to pick 20. You understand? Then comma, you know, say df, which represents your data set, then y, which represents your other variables, dot head. Then you're saying I want to pick first 40 or first 20. Then in the function, you have to return the plt.show. So moving ahead, using the same bar plot, using bar plots now, bar plot, I will say bracket open. So I'm trying to deploy this function I created, just as I did before. I'll just say, okay, where I see S, I put sales, where I see Y, I put newspaper, where I see DF, obviously is my data, the name of the variable name of my data set. Then the size of, I would say I'm picking the first 20 rows of my data set. And when I run this, sorry. Sorry, I did not run this, that's why. So here we have our bar plot. Can you all see my screen? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. So I believe you guys can hear me. So I will go on. So as I run this, I will not see the bar plot of the sales that happened that came through newspaper. So moving on to the next, we see we also apply the same method where we see our S, we put sales where we see. So we're trying to consider the sales that came through radio. The first one, we consider the total number of sales that came through newspaper. So the next one is sales that came through radio. So you have it here. This is what it is. Then when we run this one, so you see at this point we have like a linear graph, almost like shows that it is the variables are correlated. The variables in the TV pictures are correlated. So moving over to this. So using Seaborn. Now, right now we are done using Matplotlib, so we're going to use Seaborn. So if we use Seaborn, we're going to actualize the same graph as we did in Matplotlib. So when we run this, you see. So if you use the same depth, the function we have defined, you get, you get a bar plot. So moving to the next. Here, I'm trying to explain here that instead of using head function or defining a function, you can also employ a random number generator to select the features for the validation, for the data visualization. For example, this random number generator, it has to do with, like, you're trying to tell if you're going to import some necessary library. You're going to import C, they're going to import random integer, you're going to import do your normal import, importing the necessary things. So you're trying to say S equals to, you want this function to select numbers that are from 0 to 100 and use it to plot the graph. So instead of reading a function and saying I want the first number of 25, the first 25 and first 50, this function helps you to pick numbers from your data set, variables from your data set, and pick them randomly. And with it, you can, when you plot the graph, it gives you that same thing. So when you plot the graph, it will give you, the bar chart. So if you use the same method here for your same random number generator, you can still, now at this point now you're trying to, you have assigned your target variable to be 10. So at this point you're saying S equals to data sales dot head, you're picking 10 out of your data set. From the sales column, you're saying you're picking 10. Then from your Y variable, you're saying that I want a rounded number from 1 to 10. So that is why I had to list it this way, so that the number of variables in Y would be equivalent to the number of variables in S. So I'm picking head 10, and I have to list rounded bracket open from 0 to 1 to 100. So I'm saying that I need number from 0 to 100. It shouldn't be above 100. It should just be from 0, either from 0, 1 to 100. It shouldn't be 120, 150. So when you run this to give you a line plot. So at this point, I don't know if there's any question maybe you want to ask. Hello, Christian.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
So at this point now, I don't know if there's any question you want to ask. So this is come to the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's any question, you can drop it in the chat. Probably some of the topics or the points she has given. Okay, there's a question from Alfred. It said, I'd like to know your insights from the line chart. Could you specify what insight are you talking about? Could you just specify, our friend? Okay, you're saying the lines were scattered. Does this mean that the observations were randomly distributed?
Yeah, so a lot of things can cause scattered lines like that. So it means yes, it was randomly distributed. Exactly. And we say that the sales could have varied, was not consistent and all. So we can also say that using the depth function, it randomly picks the variables that we're supposed to use for the plotting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, understood. Okay, any other questions? Just drop it in the chat. Let's see if there's anyone on YouTube. We just have time for one or two more questions, or observations, or whatnot. Just drop it in the chat and we'll be willing to give an answer. Okay, there's another question from Kenneth. He's saying, please, why did you choose a bar chart for a numeric data type?
Please come again.
He said, why did you choose a bar chart for a numeric data type?
Okay. Well, at this point, we are trying to, employ different types of bar plots, and our data set is obviously a numeric data set. The data set is not categorical data set. If it was categorical, I would have, bar plots would have been the best fit for numerical data set, because you use bar plots to compare quantities of different quantities of the variables and all. So at this point, I'm trying to explore different types of bar plots and how different ways you can plot or create visualization using Python. So I had to involve bar plots. It's not necessarily because of there's no categorical column or there's no string in the data set. I will not use bar plots. So I just using it to explain that bar plot can also be used, one of the graph you can use in data visualization.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I guess you understood it now. Okay, any other question? Just drop it in the chat. We have time for one or two more questions. So I see the questions, and okay, there's another one from Enoch. He said, why do you have multiple rounded 0 to 100 code? I think you can scroll up to your
Okay, from what like I said before, from 0 to 100, I'm trying to say that I want a number in between 0 to 100. Let it not be above 100. It should fall into from 0 to 100. And I want to, like, for instance, now, if you call Y, so you can see the numbers. Yeah, this 37 is between from 0 to 100. This 12 is between from 0 to 100. This 72 is between from 0 to 100. The same thing with 9, 75, 5, 79, 64, 16, and 1. And if you count this number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what I'm trying to create is that as I said, let my S be S equals to data bracket open cell dot head. I picked 10 for my target variable. So, and my Y will not be lesser than 10. It has to be 10 so that we can be able to plot a graph with it. So the graph can be plotted with it. I don't know if you understand me. So that's why I have to, I don't know if I've answered the question, Sha, but that's the reason why I had to put round it from 0 to 100, comma round it from 0 to, so I'm trying to generate numbers in 10, numbers in 10, so that it can be equivalent to the numbers in S target variable. Like if you call your S right now, you see that it's you can see it's from 0 to 9, which is 10. So plotting a graph, I cannot have my Y being 20 and S being 10. It can't be able to plot a graph like that. So in rounded format, this is how it appears, especially when you want to pick numbers at random.
Okay, Enoch, if you understand, you can just drop in the chats if you actually got that. Okay, you said they understood it perfectly. Okay, cool. Okay, we have time for one last question. One last question. Okay, this question, it said, can we get the link to the notebook? I would share it if we'll make it available when we share it. So I'll not make you promises, but we'll share the link in the announcement channel. Okay. Any other question? Success, there's one more question. I think there's a background noise from your end. Okay. The question is saying, still on the round it, is there no code to shorten it instead of repeating the code in 10 places? I think they're referring to this your Y as its code that by using multiple round it code. They're asking if there's a code to shorten it instead of repeating it round it every time. I guess that's the question.
Yes, yes, is either you use random number generator to select, or you can use, there's a function in random number generator which is called shuffle function. You can use shuffle to shuffle your numbers, the number variables randomly. Or if you don't want to do that, you can use this you can get a function, like define a function as I did up here. So I'm just trying to explore different means of, reducing the size of your data set, so that if you plot, if I had plotted 200 rows, use it and plot a graph, it's going to be very, very, it's going to be too much. And you can see that the bar plots will be, the bins will be overlapping on each other and there won't be a comprehension. So either way, you can use head function, you can use roundit, you can use shuffle. Shuffle is another function in numpy.random numpy.random function. You can import your shuffle using numpy.random import shuffle function. You can use shuffle function. That's what I'm trying to say in essence. So I just had to put it this way so that you can have an understanding of what I'm trying to say. So there are different ways to do it. You can also make a research on this, on the shuffle function to understand what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Basically, what she's saying is you can use the shuffle function, and not just shuffle, that other functions you can use instead of using repeated rounded. So probably that will be on your and to do your own research on that, because so coding, there are different angles and different aspects to a particular problem. So it doesn't necessarily mean only round it or short. So there are other ones where you can do your research. Google is your friend, so you know how to handle it better. Okay, that would be all the time we have for questions for this session. Thank you very much, Success, for this nice presentation. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. Gotten it. All right. There'll be another session, and as usual, it will be announced in the announcement channel on Slack. So you just always pay attention to that. And coming up this Saturday, which is December 3rd, there will be an important technical session. This is announced to your email. This will be a compulsory session that's coming up on Saturday, December 10th. So attend this. So it's very important that you join in. So further information will pass about that. All right, thank you all for joining. This is where we draw the curtain.
Thank you.
See you.
See you. Thank
Okay.
you.
See you next time. Bye for now.